So Bakugo's costume screams that it was designed by a middle schooler who was trying to look badass and failed miserably. It's not good. Hello my fellow weebs, my name is Bianca and this is my weeby YouTube channel. If you're new here, hi, I make videos about things I like. Right now I'm making a lot of anime and manga related content, so if you're interested in that, definitely consider sticking around. So for today's video, I'm going to do something fun. I'm going to be ranting and complaining about a series I really love, My Hero Academia. So today I'm going to be talking about what I think are the worst My Hero Academia Class 1A hero costumes. That was a lot, I know. I don't think a lot of the costumes in My Hero Academia are that great. It's my opinion. If you're not into ranting, then maybe this video isn't for you, but if you are, it's gonna be a fun time. At the end of the video, definitely go down in the comments and rant yourselves. Like, tell me about the costumes you just hate. For whatever reason, it doesn't matter, they're all valid. Just go off in the comments. But yeah, without further ado, let's get started. Let's start complaining. Okay, so I have 6 costumes to talk about. There are other bad costumes in Class 1A, but some of them just aren't even worth talking about. So these 6, I feel like, are the worst offenders and just the worst of the worst, so we're gonna talk about them. So coming in at number 6 is Mina's costume. Why'd you have to do my girl Mina like that, Horikoshi, huh? Why? Mina is cool, she's fun. Her costume is neither of those things. Personally, I don't really like any part of her costume, but I can forgive the jumpsuit because it's tie-dye. That's a little fun, that's really in right now. But I cannot forgive the boots and that fur-lined vest thing she wears because why? They just seem so out of place and they clash terribly with the jumpsuit. Like, this jumpsuit, not my fave, but it's quirky, it's a little fun, it's colorful. And then you have these ugly ass neutral colored, neutral toned boots and vests. Now I do understand that her boots are a support item that help her like maneuver around with her quirk, but that doesn't mean they have to be ugly. That doesn't mean that they don't have to match. They have to match. And just like, don't even get me started on the damn vest. I hate it. Why is Mina wearing it? I feel like it's so easy to make this costume a little bit better. If you want to keep the tie-dye jumpsuit, you can keep the tie-dye jumpsuit, but just, it could be sleeveless, it could go up her neck, she could have some cool gloves or some cool little gauntlets that maybe let her store acid. I don't know, but we could do better with Mina, and whenever she pops up on screen, she does stand out, so I guess that's good, but she stands out for the wrong reasons in my opinion. Pinky deserves a better costume because she's super fun, she's super cool, and that costume, again, is none of that. Okay, so now a step down from Mina's because it's worse than Mina's costume, Bakugo's costume. Now, if you're a big Bakugo fan, I'm sorry, but I have to say it, his costume sucks. So Bakugo's costume screams that it was designed by a middle schooler who was trying to look badass and failed miserably. It's not good. I like the color schemes though, so that's a little positive, you know, so don't attack me that much, Bakugo stance. I love the black with the orange and the hint of green, that's good, but I think my biggest issue and why the costume just looks so lame is because of those giant grenades that he wears around his wrists. Yeah, I do recognize that they serve a purpose. They're supposed to store his sweat, which is gross. But I feel like there's a better way to do it. Like, why does it have to be so huge? Like, I'm sure they can come up with better support gear that could help him store his nitroglycerin, but isn't so bulky. And I feel like as a superhero, you don't want things that are bulky and get in the way because you're trying to be efficient, you're trying to save people, you're trying to fight villains. And that just looks like more of a problem to me than a badass accessory. Yeah, Bakugo's costume is just not it. It's very childish. I don't get it. I don't get the mask. I don't think it looks cool. I get that it's supposed to kind of look like an explosion, but I just feel like he's just hitting people whenever he turns his head, and that's just funny to me. If I were in front of Bakugo, I would laugh at him because of how silly and ridiculous he looked. Yeah, he would blow me up, but I feel like that would just make it funnier. Yeah, that's all I have to say about Bakugo's horrible costume. Coming in at number 4, we have Deku's first costume. Again, like with Bakugo's, this one was clearly designed by a middle school student. Unlike Bakugo, who designed his costume to look badass, Deku designed his costume to look like All Might's. And it looks so much like All Might's, it gives me All Might's sidekick vibes. and I don't think that's good. I know that could be intentional because at the beginning of the series, Deku just wanted to be like All Might so badly. I think it's a very ugly costume, and by me saying that, I am in no way, shape, or form trying to offend Mrs. Midoriya. She made that costume for him, and I think that's so cute. I'm not slandering Mrs. Midoriya, I am slandering the design. I think the biggest reason why I don't like this costume is the color. The color is fine, but I think it clashes horribly with Deku's hair. It doesn't look good together, you know? I'm also not a fan of the bunny ear mask. I know they're not bunny ears, but that's what they look like to me. I don't like it when he has it on because he looks so silly. Like, he looks like a pastel colored Easter bunny, and that's not threatening at all. It's funny. Like with Bakugo, I think I would also laugh if I saw this in person. The one good thing that Bakugo did in season 1 was just blow that up. So thanks, Bakugo. Should have blown up your own costume, but I'll take this. Okay, coming in at number 3, we have Todoroki's first costume. My boy didn't even try. Now, am I a fan of any of Todoroki's costumes? No. But I think the first one is so horrible that even though Todoroki is one of my favorite characters, I still want to rant about it and kind of make fun of him for it, you know? So similarly to Deku's costume in season 1, Todoroki's first costume is kind of a reflection of who he was at that moment. Season 1 Todoroki was just not having it. Season 1 Todoroki was so fueled by hatred that he threw style and design out the window. I feel like he was basically like, I want to cover every single part of me that reminds me of my father with something that reminds me of my mother. And that's so sad. But that does not excuse the abomination that we got. Is it even a costume? Like, can you even call this a costume? He's just wearing a button-up shirt, some light pants, and some light boots, and his left side is covered by something that looks like ice. And yeah, it's something that looks like ice. For the longest time, I was under the impression that he put ice on his left side. But after thinking about it, I was like, wait, that wouldn't make sense because ice burns. And we know that Todoroki can definitely be burned by ice. According to the wiki, it's just something that looks like ice, which I feel like is very intentional and was just a way for Todoroki to be like, F you, Dad, as he should. All this costume does is just convey Todoroki's hatred of his father. That's it. It's just plain. It doesn't look heroic at all, and the only reason it's above Bakugo's and Deku's is because, again, my boy didn't even try. I mean, after this costume, it's not like he does try, because his costumes are very plain, but this first costume is just the worst. Okay, so coming in at number 2, we have Hagakure's costume. Okay, Hagakure. Usually I wouldn't rant about Hagakure because I don't care about Hagakure. She's irrelevant. She is probably the most minor character in Class 1A. Hagakure's costume just makes me mad because I don't find it funny. I do get why it's supposed to be like amusing, like here's this character that is completely invisible, but is only completely invisible because they're completely naked. That's gonna result in some funny situations, which it could, but this whole concept isn't something new. I remember it being done and played out in those old Fantastic Four movies with Invisible Woman, and that was like, what, 15 years ago? Maybe even more? But Hagakure being naked just for lols isn't my biggest issue. My biggest issue is that Hagakure shouldn't be allowed to be naked in the first place. Like, think about it. Hagakure is completely naked, minus the gloves and the boots that serve no purpose, but she's completely naked. That means she's exposed to the elements and to every environment she steps into. So how could any adult allow this? She's just so exposed and so in danger. How has this not come up as an issue? Like, she could be easily burned. She could be easily cut. Why is no one looking out for her? I feel like with everything we've learned about Hero Society and how they regulate basically everything about being a superhero, that this should be an issue. but are we just gonna ignore that because her being naked is funny? It just doesn't make sense because they do have regulations about what you can and can't wear. Do people just not care because she's naked so they won't be able to see anything? Because that just doesn't make sense to me. Why am I the only one that's concerned about Hagakure? I don't even like her. But yeah, that's why I think Hagakure being allowed to be naked makes no sense. And that's why I think she has one of the worst costumes. I mean, just put her in a costume that protects her. Like, just do the bare minimum. And, you know, maybe it could be a cool costume that has, like, I don't know, tiny little mirrors, and she can choose when it's invisible and when it's not, and when it's not invisible, it just looks cool. I don't know. I can't believe I just put so much thought into Hagakure. Why did you do this to me, Horikoshi? Okay, so at number 1, we have the absolute worst costume in Class 1A, and the reason this costume is number 1 over the others is because this costume is worn by one of my favorite characters. So at number 1 we have Momo's costume. So I'm gonna start off by saying something that is shockingly controversial. Momo's costume looks the way it does purely for fan service. In my opinion, it doesn't help her with her quirk at all, and in fact I think it's preventing her from being a better hero. So let me explain. Okay, so Momo is the creation hero. She can create any inorganic material or object from her exposed skin. Because that's true, a lot of people argue that her costume makes sense. She has a lot of exposed skin, so that means she can use her quirk from anywhere. And yeah, that's true. My issue isn't with her having skin exposed. My issue is with the skin that is exposed. So Momo wears a leotard that exposes her chest, but I think it shouldn't be her chest that's exposed, but rather her back, because her back has more surface area. If you want to argue that, well, there's a lot of surface area on her chest, so what's the issue? Well, yeah, there's a lot of surface area on her chest, but sometimes, more often than not as much as she needs to create things. When it comes to Momo, one of the running gags is that she opens up her costume and exposes herself when she's creating something. And I'll admit that has resulted in some pretty funny reactions. My favorite is Todoroki's, where he just turns back around and just continues on with his conversation. That was funny. The more times I saw this happening with Momo, the more I questioned why she even has an opening in her chest if she needs even more space. Like, just have the opening on your back. And also, if you have to pull open your costume, you're kind of left defenseless. Now, I know I just went off about the costume and how the skin that's exposed makes no sense, but that's not the biggest issue I have with Momo's costume, and it's not the part that I hate the most. The part that I hate the most about Momo's costume is the freaking book that she carries around. All I have to say is, why? 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 Like, I know it's just full of all the constructs and materials that she knows, but why is it in the shape of a big book? My Hero Academia takes place in the future. You're telling me that she can't digitize this information? Like, why does she have to be carrying around a book? And again, the fact that she carries around a book just means that she can't work on her own. She needs to have people guarding her while she exposes herself and creates things. She needs to have people around to distract villains so she can look through her book, which I think is a huge flaw. Every single part of her outfit just screams how reliant she is on other people being there to protect her. Just doesn't make sense, and it's not realistic in my opinion, because if you can't perform your duties as a hero alone, then why are you a hero? And I hate to say it like that because I love Momo and I think she has tremendous potential. It's so easy to improve these things with Momo. Like, once she could have a holographic computer on her wrist like Robin from Young Justice and just search up the information she needs. Though that would keep her hands occupied, but I feel like it'd still be an improvement. If she wants to be more hands-free, she can get a helmet, a special mask, maybe even some glasses that have a cool display. So think Tony Stark, who has the cool helmet when he's Iron Man, or the cool shades when he's just walking around as Tony Stark. Both options would give Momo immediate access to any information she's looking for. And if it's just a display like Iron Man has, then she'd be able to create while she's looking up information, and that would just make her a better hero in my opinion. So in conclusion, Momo does not need to be carrying around a huge book. Horikoshi, your series takes place in the future. Momo is rich, so she definitely has access to cool tech. Make it happen. And also give her a better designed costume because you have the wrong skin exposed. And that concludes today's ranting session. I hope you enjoyed this video. I definitely enjoyed filming it. Complaining about petty things is always fun. Whether you agree or disagree with what I said, definitely let me know down below. And like, just go off. Like, if you don't like a costume for a petty, stupid reason, let me know, because your opinions are completely valid. But yeah, that is it for today's video. If you enjoyed, remember to like, to subscribe. Again, comment whatever you want to down below, and I will see you next time with another weeby video. Bye!